Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Mitch's Mega Minute. Now you're probably wondering to yourselves, hey, no one's interrupted Mitch yet. You know what that means? I'm running solo. And I had this whole thing where I was gonna try to play like a song to start things off, but like I couldn't think of anything. Honestly, I was trying to like get like 4 different songs to work, and I just I wasn't jiving with any of them. So, I might just have like musical breaks in between and stuff. But hey, welcome on to the show, everyone. Welcome to the show that apparently we have all the news on because as I noticed, some of you guys didn't get the memo last week when I said that we were gonna be gone for a week. And it's something I'm gonna have to like emphasize a little bit, just because I guess like it's just being missed. All channel news comes on to this podcast. It's kind of how we set everything up. It's how we it's kind of like my way to broadcast information to you guys, as much as like we have some people who because that's the thing, we're so spread out, that like we have some people who follow us on Twitter, we have some people who follow us on Tumblr. I'm noticing that my audio is weird, which means something happened in Audacity, and yes it did, so I have to lift it up. Much like your love is lifting me higher and higher. There we go. Okay. So I know it's a little weird, and it's a little awkward to do the show by myself. To be honest with you, I don't really like doing shows solo. I find myself being like super awkward and stuff, but like I figured, hey, the chat will be my co-host this time around, and it's pretty. Out of all my Mitch's minutes, this is probably the most self-centered, self-indulgent episode I think I've ever done. Because hey, guess what? I have 3 movies to talk about. So if you guys do not want spoilers for any of the following movies, you can go ahead and push pause on this, or put this in your liked videos, and then like come back to this later. We're going to be talking about Jumanji 2, Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker, and Cats, because Gangwoo and I guess, hate each other and want to subject each other to cats. And I will also be doing my top 10 games of the decade, because that seems to be something that a lot of people are kind of going over. Like, hey, what are your favorite games? And before I go even into that, I would just like to say real quick that my top 10 games are not like, just because like they are going to be presented in a certain order doesn't indicate how awesome each one of these ones are, how much less admittedly each one of my picks are a little flawed in their own way, but they are games that I super loved throughout the last couple of years. They're games that I kept coming back to. They're games that I think had a really good impact, and they're also games that I try to pick games that I didn't feel that feel very like personal pick for me. So like as much as I like Star Wars, as much as I love Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I didn't put that on the list just because Zelda was not really my Zelda was always a thing that like Maddie and Sora liked. It was always something that like my friends really enjoyed. But like I struggled to get into. So like while it is something that it's super awesome and it's a super good game, and like I played that game for like a very long time, I definitely I wouldn't put it on my list, just because to me the top 10 games were games that I felt really defined something, or like really were maybe not even pivotal. Like it's not like everyone's gonna have like a story where it's like, oh yes, I remember when my parents were getting a divorce and I played Splatoon 2. Like that's not how it works. Also, my parents did not get a divorce. That's what we call acting. You believed me for a second. But anyways, so let's go ahead and get into channel news real quick. I'm actually I'm excited about this episode. They always say you always throw yourself into the piranha tank and just slowly get eaten alive. Anyways, welcome everyone. Channel news this week. We are coming back this week. We were gone for a whole week. I was supposed to get videos rendered throughout the week, and I want to apologize once again. Some things came up right before I was able to do all of my rendering work for the weekend, and I found myself away from my computer, so I wasn't able to get any of the Love Love episodes done last week, because I was hoping to get you guys at the very least that. And Yeah, so that's a big L on my end. That's a big loss. But do not worry. This week we are coming back. Hopefully, I say that because my two other co-hosts, Nate and Amanda, happen to be feeling kind of sick. Some people are still out of town. Some people are still, partying it up, especially because the New Year's is coming up soon. And this is one of those very rare instances in which I have to kind of run the show solo. Instead of having my crew and my posse with me, it's me and a Psyduck versus like Brock, and we're trying our best. Yes, water is the advantage, but it's like a level 6 Psyduck, and then we're trying our best. His name is Ricardo, and we are best friends. Anyways, so today's episode, sorry. What happens is I go on a rant and a ramble, and someone will like drag me back in with chains, like Roadhog, like they'll hook me, and then that's how we continue the conversation. But if you guys just let me ramble and rant, it kind of loses focus, loses track. So we're gonna try our best to stay on track, and that's not me making a promise to you guys. It's me looking in the little side mirror and making a promise. This is such a great start. This is such a great start to the solo adventure that is me having to talk to myself. So I have 3 movies set up for you guys for this podcast, and then we're gonna do the top 10. But also, yes, so we're gonna try our best to come back this week. I will have videos at least for you for like tomorrow. I think we're gonna start streaming Fire Emblem this week. That should be the goal and plan. Is Fire Emblem's gonna be the next streaming show we do? Just because I do feel like we need to finish that game up. Like we started that all the way back in July, and as much as I know you guys love that show, like I also know that we haven't been very good at uploading it and trying to record it because there's so much things that get in the way, especially around this time of year where everyone's going on vacations and everyone's kind of like, going off and around all about the world, and we have half our crew in different locations. Most of our crew, if not 98% of our crew, do not exist within the same space. We have to kind of like jerry-rig the whole thing through Discord, and even then sometimes we have like issues and stuff. So we're gonna kind of go from there and see what happens. Hopefully everything works out fine and we'll be able to do it. I know Gangludo and I are definitely coming on for Thursday. We're gonna come back with Persona. We're gonna talk about cats. So I actually have desperately tried to find like a good clean images of the Cats movie so that I can try to render Pierre Gangle's face onto one of those horrific cat monsters. So I'm actually not looking at the chat right now. So when I do look at the chat, I'm gonna pull it up in just a second here. I'm gonna kind of like try to pull that up so that I can take a look at what's going on with you guys. And so that's kind of what's gonna happen. So I apologize in advance for Thursday's stream because I can already see like that becoming just a whole thing. I will say before I even talk about that movie, that it's one of those things where Andrew Lloyd Webber, like he super solid like songwriter like that. Like there's this one particular song that's been stuck in my head like the entire day today, and it's the magical Mr. Mistopheles. And it's just about a little cat that can do magic, and that's such a cute little gimmick, and I love it. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about that later. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into the episode today, and start the magic. All right, so the first movie we're going to talk about is not the movie everyone was hoping we'd talk about. We're talking about Jumanji Next Level. Ironically, this is the best fucking image I could find in like a span of 20 seconds, and I didn't really even try. Went level with you all. There's like so many other things I had to get done before I started the solo adventure today. So as far as a movie sequel goes, it's what you expect. It's okay. But when I say it's okay, like I guess a good way of putting it is this: Jumanji, Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle was something where it's like I saw it with my folks. It was a fun little adventure movie, and it's a comedy. It's nothing like the original Jumanji. I'm not sure if I ever talked about it on the show before, but this is something that my mom really enjoyed. It's something that like as a family, like, you know, you ever have to go, like, I'm not sure if you guys have this, but like there's a certain things with families, and my family's thing is movies. So seeing Jumanji was a good time, just because of that, because, you know, there's the personal experience with it. But as a film, it almost felt like I'm trying to think of a really good way of running. So in the 80s and 90s, there was like sequels to movies that like were kind of niche or gimmicky and stuff like that. And how do you establish and move on with that gimmick makes it kind of interesting. So like, for example, Back to the Future 2 or Gremlins 2, or like there's tons of sequels out there that kind of have to take the premise and take the gimmick and twist it. And the twist of this one is that no one is the player, or no one is in the avatar that they played in the original, and it causes for tons of hijinks. Dwayne The Rock Johnson no longer has to pretend to be like a nerd, quote unquote nerd, a stereotypical nerd, but he has to be Danny DeVito, and that in itself is a funny bit. Kevin Hart has to be an older man who speaks a little slower. And the level of comedy, just the slapstick, the line delivery, just I gotta hand it to the main cast, where they are just nailing it. They are putting, you know, they have to pretend to be these characters. Obviously, it's called acting. Yeah. That's the joke, Mitchell. Ha ha ha! You fucking did it. But like they do such a good job at like being that character. Like there's times where they introduce like a concept in the movie where like things kind of swap around, so then everyone kind of has to be someone else, and it's you know, it's fun. And that's the thing. I don't think it's fair to grade these movies like Jumanji Next Level with something like in almost like it's almost like a tier list, you know. Where there's certain movies that don't necessarily fit in the same ring as Jumanji Next Level. You know, I wouldn't compare Jumanji Next Level to Avatar. You know, like, no one does that. And if they do that, why are you doing that? Like, there's I'm going to use fighting games as like my prime example, because I like fighting games. But fighting games have different speeds. They have different gimmicks. If you're playing Street Fighter, you know what you're going in for, you know? If you're playing BlazBlue, you know what you're going in for. It's something, you know, when you're playing BlazBlue, it's something fast, something gimmicky. Every character has their own thing going on, and if there is a repeat, they do it in such an interesting way that it doesn't feel like a repeat. Relius Clover and Carl Clover have similar gimmicks, but they play very differently. Same thing with these types of movies. You can yes, they're both movies. Yes, they both came out in December, but they are of different classes. They are of different types, and not one is not better than the other. And maybe that sounds like dumb, but I feel like to compare and grade films where their intents almost feel different. Like, you don't go into Jumanji Next Level expecting to have your fucking mind broken by the sheer awesomeness of the story they're gonna tell. It's gonna be fun, slapsticky, and it's gonna be enjoyable, and that's what it was. It's enjoyable. There's a couple moments in the movie where I sat there and I was like, okay, that could have been done a little better, especially like at the not like being like the general end. I mean the exact last scene of the film. There was something about that just didn't feel proper in terms of how they edited it, and it didn't make sense to me. But like, I also was like, hey, you know what? The ride was fun. I enjoyed myself. It was just kind of like a fun little gimmick, and I did get a good couple laughs, and I'm not going to sit here and be a fucking negative asshole about the fucking movie that's designed to be a family movie. So, you know... I'm not gonna be like a complete jackass. That's not how video games function, or fucking whatever. Like, who gives a fuck? It's fucking adventure film. Fucking whatever. The point is that Jumanji Next Level is a very enjoyable film. I had a lot of fun with it. Is it a recommendation? I'd say that if you've seen the original Jumanji and you know what you're getting yourself in, not the original Jumanji. If you've seen Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle and you know what you're getting yourself into, it's a definitely a fun romp. They have some fun with it. And I love this particular group of actors. I I think it's Karen Gillan and Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and The Rock. It's funny. It's just funny. And I mean, hey, I mean, like I said, you just have to know what you're going in for. That's kind of my trick of the trade. Anyways, that's all I have to say about Jumanji. Which one do I pick? I'm gonna pick Rise of Skywalker. So I saw Rise of Skywalker. I'm gonna say spoilers for those who don't want it, but hey, you know, it's if you're here and you've gotten this far, why not? So, where do I begin? Rise of Skywalker is an unenviable position to be in. As I'm sure that you guys are tired of me talking about Star Wars, and I'm a little tired of talking about Star Wars, but at the same time, I will admit when I'm wrong. That's something that I always really want to emphasize. If there is something I'm wrong about, not opinions. Opinions are based on like personal ideas and thoughts and how we perceive things. But like if I'm wrong about something like that I say in the past, especially when it comes to movies or how I think I'm going to perceive them or like just in general, like if there's something that I'm factually wrong about, you know, I always like to be corrected on that kind of stuff because I don't want to be spouting out, you know, nonsense. And I was wrong. This movie is delightful. I really enjoyed Rise of Skywalker. And I can't tell if that's because I saw it in RPX. I can't tell if it's because I was desperately clinging on to like some semblance of. I think we need to take a step back. Okay, so let's take a look at the trilogy before I go into this specific one. So in 2015, The Force Awakens comes out, and I liked it. I thought it was good. It was retread, but I enjoyed it, you know? I thought there were some problems here and there, but there's definitely, you know, I wasn't like hating on the film or anything like that, or, you know, and I know like in a couple episodes ago, I was talking about how like I thought Rey was a Mary Sue, but if I'm going to be honest with you, I think a lot of this is just stemming from just misplaced anger, I guess. I recently rewatched fucking Rise of Skywalker, or not Rise of Skywalker, The Last Jedi, like last week, and all those problems that I was bitching about, like they weren't 100% there, and I was like, well, maybe I'm just being mad because that's something real. That's an element. I have a horrible bias in a lot of this shit. Half the time I get really mad about something. And sometimes I'm so mad that I won't, you know, that I'm just kind of like, oh, well, it has to be this, or it has to be, you know, start directing it into a direction that it's not necessarily like, it's not necessarily it, you know? I think I was more mad about how Mark Hamill felt. I felt bad for him, and I felt like about how he, you know, portrayed his character of Luke, and how he didn't fundamentally agree with Rian Johnson, and how Rian Johnson just feels like he's this condescending fucking guy who just like, well, it almost feels like the way that Rian Johnson talks about like his film and about how he presents the information, it almost feels like in movie form someone telling you, get over it, you cuck. Like that's how it feels. Like it's like, why are you fighting the fans? Like why are you like this? And I get his idea, and I get it, like I understand it. I don't agree with it. His perspective was, I want to do something where his whole ideology is, I want to make something that isn't what you want, but it's something that you didn't know you wanted. And I respect that as a storyteller, because I'm like, yeah, like, that makes sense. The best stuff you'll ever get is a surprise. I literally talked about that last week with Richard Jewell. Like, you will be surprised at something, and you will, like, have this moment of, like, oh, holy shit, like, that's it. Like, you know, like, that's something I didn't know I wanted. Like, thank you. but then like when people fight back at him, when people like didn't like what he did, and like it's not like, yes, is this what you not wanted? And I'm like, yeah, it's not what I not wanted. And he's like, you're welcome. It's like fucking. So I don't know. If you like like I said, if you like The Last Jedi, though, like it's not. I don't want to shit on your parade. Like you can like that, and there is stuff to like. I really like the Rey and Kylo stuff. I really like some aspects of the film. There's just it's a weird half and half, and that's how I feel about this movie. It's a weird half and half because every time they have to make one of these Star Wars movies past 6, I hear the same phrase being used over and over and over and over again, which is so-and-so has the unenviable task of making the next Star Wars movie. Because it's one thing when it was the prequels, because, hey, we know where it's heading. This is steering the ship into the foggy waters that no one really knows about, that's uncharted. And it's up to you, the storytellers, to kind of figure out where the fuck we're going. And so, it's hard because J.J. Abrams with The Force Awakens was like, all right, so I'm going to kind of retread some stuff, and I'm also going to introduce some concepts, cut some stuff up. Who is Rey's parents? Who is Snoke? And then Rian Johnson takes the ship and like fucking 360s it and puts it into the inverse dimension and is like, this is what you wanted, right? like a jackass. And fucking, and like... If he wasn't such a dick, honestly, like if he was just like a regular like person, didn't just look like a hateable asshole with a punchable face, like I'd be like, yeah, just sound like a huge fucking bigot. And that's what I am, folks. That's what you come here for. No. But like that's what I feel though. So when you come in from The Last Jedi, so JJ sets up all these chess pieces, or he sets you onto the map, he sets you where you need to go, and then Rian Johnson either threw all the pieces off the board and started playing a different game, or he kind of like took the ship and made it into a submarine. You gotta figure out where you're going from there. Like, is it interesting? Yes. But where do we go from here? And that's unfortunately where we are. J.J. Abrams had to take the entire franchise and kind of condense what should have been 2 movies into 1. The lot of the plot lines presented in this movie felt like it should have been 2 movies. And that's not like a bad thing. It does make the movie feel clustered. Like it definitely makes everything feel like everything is going really fast. It definitely makes you feel like there might be stuff you're missing, or there might be something going on, but there are like a lot of positives. It's once again, it's this weird, shitty stance that I have to take, which is 50-50. 50% of this movie is really good. I really enjoyed it. It felt like old Star Wars. I like what they did with Rey, and I like what they did with Finn and Poe, and I felt like we were starting to get seedlings of like, oh, good, I'm starting to like these characters. Like, you introduced Finn in the first movie, and he's kind of betraying, not betraying, yeah, kind of. He's deserting the First Order to kind of help out, the rebellion. And he's trying, and then he has to. He kind of goes through the same arc again in The Last Jedi, where he has to learn that, not to desert his friends or some shit. And then, but like in this one, it's like you're starting to feel like you get more of an adventure. And I had this weird moment in the theater where I'm like, wow, I didn't think I liked Finn this much, or I didn't think I liked Poe this much. Poe was like really good in this movie. I really liked Poe. Like he's starting to feel like the rogue character. He's starting to feel like Han Solo, not exactly like Han Solo, but someone like him. You're starting to get the parallels. You're starting to start building up. I'm like, wow, I actually am having a good time with these characters. These are like 3 characters, Rey, Finn, and Poe, characters that I didn't necessarily care about like as much in Force Awakens. Like, yes, they're the new generation, but I want to see where they grow. And Last Jedi started to do that, but then it started to also retread on some different things, and then it kind of made me hate Poe, because I'm like, what the fuck is like Poe goes and he's like a hothead, and he also starts a rebellion, but it's also because Holdo isn't telling him anything. Oh, it's like a whole thing. And if there's one thing I will tell you about Star Wars, it's... Am I happy? Yes. would I recommend this movie if you like Star Wars? I will say that. If you like Star Wars, go in. But if you don't like Star Wars and you didn't like The Last Jedi, why the fuck are you seeing this movie? Like, honestly. Like, are you just going to see it to hate it like I did with Cats? Like, yeah, maybe. Maybe you are. And, like, there's nothing... I guess, hypothetically, there's nothing wrong with that. But, like, I don't know. It's like you order... It's like going to a diner and being like, well, I'm deadly allergic to strawberries. Time to order the strawberry, fucking pancakes. And the waitress even's like, hey, wait, didn't you literally just say that you didn't like... that you're deadly allergic to strawberry pancakes? And then you're just like, uh-huh. And then you fucking get the strawberry pancakes and you take one little bite and your whole face swells like a fucking marshmallow in a fucking microwave. And you're like, whoa, what a surprise! I hate strawberries! Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Like, of course you're not gonna like it. That's the one thing. I might see movies sometimes as a joke, or like kind of like, you know, like the Emoji Movie or Cats, as we'll get to. But like, why? Like what? Like I do it because it's fun to kind of see the train wreck. It's fun to see like when effort and like something genuine is there, or when like something like. Is like that spark, like The Room obviously is the one I always go to, a Tommy Wiseau, where there is a spark of like genuine want and need to present a story. But like what? But like I don't know. I guess it's just weird because then like it almost feels like it's on the bandwagon, you know. But hey, who am I to judge? I literally did the same thing to fucking Cats, and we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. But, I don't know, I also feel like it's really, like, obviously it's really popular to talk about Star Wars. I mean, have you seen how many fucking channels there are devoted talking about Star Wars in the last, like, 3 months? Of course it is. It's a popular topic. Everyone likes Star Wars, and if you don't like Star Wars, that's okay, too. But, like, don't pretend like you're going to see this movie and give it a fair, like, oh, I'm going to give it a fair chance. Bullshit. You're gonna go fucking see the movie to shit on it. And, like, at least I could say I gave Cats a fair chance. Yes. I'm laughing. Like, I'm genuinely laughing. But, like, but seriously, like, wow. Watch the master podcaster, Mitchell, who's been doing podcasting for 3 fucking years now, not talk about Star Wars and talk about everything around Star Wars, but not talk about Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. So spoilers. Spoilers. Right now, I know I said it before, but I need to emphasize it once more time because I don't want anyone to, you know, not... If it's something that you want, you know, just get out of here. Like a cat. Like, shoot, we'll see you later. Rey being a Palpatine was interesting. It was always a theory. And that's the thing about Star Wars fans. We're fucking insane. It was always a theory that Rey was going to be Kenobi or a Palpatine or some sort of force, like some sort of force powers are in the heritage or in the legacy, you know, like in the legacy forge. And they present the information like very early in the film, and the film becomes about that. It becomes about, like, oh, like, your grandfather is Palpatine, like, the big evil bad guy of the entire Star Wars trilogy, or, like, the trilogy of trilogies, I guess. Because somehow he's back. And I know there's people who are like, well, how is he back? It doesn't make any sense. Who gives a shit? He's fucking evil! He's an evil wizard! Like, what, you're trying to find science in the science fantasy? Like, he's a fucking wizard! Who gives a shit? He's evil! Maybe it's a whole maybe it's a whole Cell thing, where, like, as long as one cell of Cell exists, he can rebuild himself. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe Palpatine just rebuilt himself over 30 fucking years, and it's just like, yes, I've returned from the fucking crypt. You know, because I'm fucking evil. You know, Sith sciences and shit. Frankenstein fucking motherfucker. Like, he comes back. Who gives a fuck? That's not what's important. He's been around, and he created Snoke, and he's been the master manipulator. And, like, that's the part that kind of I wish The Last Jedi touched on a little bit. That's the one thing where I'm like, I wish that it was handled a little better. Because I would have loved it if something in The Last Jedi hinted that Palpatine was coming back, or maybe it's like the presence of, because there's tons of times that there's been throwaway lines or some dumb shit like that. And I kind of just wish there was something a little bit more like, oh, like I sense a presence, I haven't felt it. So, like maybe Luke's like on his deathbed, or like, you know, he's like looking into the twin suns in The Last Jedi, and he's like in that moment, like he finds peace, but then there's like, you know, maybe you don't show it, but you show like you don't show Palpatine, but you have his face and he kind of looks down, and he feels uneasy for a moment, like he was about to die. He's at peace, and right as he's about to fade, you John Williams can play the whole like do do do, like something's uneasy. So there's something in the Force, something amiss. I like Luke. I've disconnected myself from the Force, and now that I'm feeling it again, like oh no. But Palpatine, like, you know, you could have done something. You could have done, like, I know, and obviously the trick is they didn't know that was what was going to happen. Palpatine was probably written in during, like, when it's like, hey, JJ, make the new one, and he's like, fuck. Let me get the writer of Batman v Superman to come help me, and and we can make a movie. And you know, it didn't turn out as bad as I thought. Like, you know, it's fun. There's that's the thing. I need to emphasize this. If I'm quoted on anything, I want it to be this: Star Wars, first and foremost, needs to be fun. When I was a kid and I watched those shitty prequel movies, I was having fun in the theaters, because guess what? Star Wars is made for families. It's made for kids. Star Wars is like you know, that's what it's like, main audience, you know? Yes, there's older fans and shit, but we shouldn't expect, like, I'm not sure if you guys ever watched Parks and Rec, but there's a really great scene where we're fucking, it's, fuck. It's not Patrick, it's Pat something fuck. It's gonna drive me insane. Hang on a second. I'm so sorry, everyone. Patton Oswalt. Pat. No, Patton Oswalt does this whole gimmick where he's filibustering some sort of thing that's happening in the town, and he goes 8 minutes. And he talks for 8 minutes about how, like, he imagines the next Star Wars big crossover with Marvel and stuff like that. And there's a great line in which he's like, Han shows up in the Millennium Falcon. He goes to Jedi Master Luke, and he pulls out the head of Chewbacca, and someone's shouting back, "Kids aren't gonna like that," and like that's how I feel. Like, you can, like, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, dark grizzled Master Luke who gave up on the Jedi way, dude. Fuck, like, no one, like, why would you do that? Like, is it fun to explore those aspects of Star Wars? Sure. Is it in the same way that it's fun that in the fucking cartoon, like the 2D cartoon version of fucking Clone Wars, General Grievous is actually intimidating and scary because he's a Jedi hunter and he collects sabers, and the way that they animated him made him fucking unstoppable. He did all sorts of cool shit because he was animated by the same people who did Samurai fucking Jack. So there's a lot to unpack here, as you can clearly tell. They work back a lot of stuff that happened in The Last Jedi. Luke learns his lesson from Master Yoda about fear and how Jedis have to confront fear, and Rey goes to throw a lightsaber into the fire, and Luke catches it. And he's just like, you dare try to throw away the weapon of a Jedi, and it's big and bombastic, and the John Williams score is like going, and it's emotional and it makes you feel stuff, and then you have to remember that, like, in the last movie he literally did that, and it's literally a moment where he might as well have just, like, looked into the camera, made a cool guy like face, and was just like, fuck you, Rian Johnson, fuck you. I get to play the Luke that I want to be, and that's how the movie feels. Half of the movie feels like fuck you, Rian Johnson, and the other half of the movie is just trying to cobble together what it can. because there's a lot of stuff that happens. There's just a lot. And to talk about, like, I can see why the Red Letter Media guys went 70 minutes talking about the fucking movie. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of things that happened. There's a lot of things that went wrong. Some of it is, unfortunately, a retread of Return of the Jedi, and that's kind of inevitable when it comes to this trilogy. But overall, I did like it. And I think that there's a lesson to be taken from all of this. I've been a Star Wars fan for a very long time. I've been a Star Wars fan since I was a child, when I was in middle school. I love Star Wars, and I'm sure everyone would be like, it almost sounds like I'm setting up some sort of shitty thing, right? It's like, Legend of Zelda came out when I was just a wee lad, and I love that game. That's what I'm fucking doing right now. It's fucking appalling, and I'm sorry. I was a fan for a really long time, though. I've been in and out of Star Wars for a very long time. I was bullied about it. Like, that's about it. That's the extent of my Star Wars love. It's like, you can always tell when someone's into something if they got bullied about it, right? But like, I love Star Wars. I bought fucking Battlefront 2. I've been pushing myself not to play it, but watching this movie just made me like love Star Wars again. Like, there is something about it that is magical in like a fun, childlike way, and that sounds so shitty. Like, it's like being like, "Hey, Mitchell, read me your movie review." Oh, there's a magical feel. It's like, that's dumb. That's a dumb way to describe a movie. There is like a sense of like some of that old. It's almost like Frosty the Snowman. You know, there's a little bit of magic in that old hat we found. The hat that says Star Wars on, and we put it on the Kylo Ren snowman, and he started to walk around, and then he dies in the end. The analogies just fall apart. It's trying to make a snowman in the middle of spring. It just keeps melting. There is this movie felt more like Star Wars than The Last Jedi did to me. But I know that that's kind of like a weird way to do it. And I know a lot of people who probably aren't going to like this movie. I know that there's tons of people who probably are going to be like, "Well, Mitchell, this movie's kind of dumb. Like, this movie's kind of shitty." And I super get it. I super do. There's also going to be tons of people who say they love this movie. And I'm going to get both sides. Ironically, I feel like the Grey Jedi here from the old story, you know, the ones that didn't necessarily 100% believe in the Jedi and understood that, you know, maybe don't kidnap children from an early age to train them in their weird celibate monks shit. It feels like a little bit of the dark and a little bit of the light, and that's all I can really say about it, you know? Like I could sit here and talk about spoilers, and I could talk about how much I absolutely love Adam Driver as Kylo Ren, and how he's so good at that, and how much I've really grown to adore fucking Daisy Ridley as Rey, and I could also talk about how Finn and a lot of the actors sound like they don't want to come back because this has been a fucking miserable time for them. As Star Wars fans, we're kind of shitty. We're really shitty. Fucking, I don't remember the name of the actress who plays Rose Tico, but she got bullied, you know, off of fucking social media. Like, how fucking shitty. We're worse than the Steven Universe fandom, and I was in the Steven Universe fandom. Maybe this is a sign of how shitty of a person I am on Shit Mountain. And when Steven Universe future finishes, I'll talk about that, because I don't want to talk about it episodically. I want to talk about it like when it's done, and I can just marathon it all and talk about it then. But I will end Rise of Skywalker talk with this. I liked it. Like I said, if you like it or if you love it, I super get it. If you hate it, I super get it. There is no winner. This was not like this. I would not ask my enemies to make this movie to follow up the fucking Last Jedi. Like that is the worst position to be in, because what do? if you lean too far into what Rian Johnson did, you're not gonna, all the old fans are gonna hate you forever. But if you do it the way that, like, Abrams did it, which was a retread in Force Awakens, they're gonna hate you either way. So when Abrams says, fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want, a statement that I originally kind of berated him for a little bit, and was worried about, I also, from a different perspective, I get it. You weren't gonna win. And if you're not gonna win, like fuck it, make the movie you want. I hope that at the end of the day, Star Wars will take a very long break from the movie releases. I hope that we learned a fucking lesson here, because this has been an exhausting time. And as much as I love seeing the Star Wars with my dad, and as much as I enjoy seeing the films, and as much as I am gonna go see Rise of Skywalker again, I liked it that much. As much as I like having the big Star Wars on the screen and seeing that adventure and going to that fucking galaxy far, far away, I think we all could use a fucking break. Which leads me into my break of the fucking movie time, which is... I forgot which image I chose. And I fucking was gonna dry heave. Fuck. Okay. Sorry. I gotta get it out now. Okay. So Gang Muno and I hang out yesterday. We did Nuggy. We did the tour to Nuggy, and we'll talk about that on Thursday. It was really fun. We weren't able to go to as many places because apparently there's not a lot of places that serve chicken nuggets, which I found out. But we were able to find a couple places. Oh, like I keep looking at her, and I honestly, like, it makes me so uneasy, and like it's not great. I gotta stop. Okay. Maybe I need to find like a different image or something. Why, Taylor? Why? Okay, so we were hanging out. We did tour to Nuggy, and we fucking we sat there. And we were like, man, what do you want to do? And like, you know, Gangwin and I love movies. If there is one thing to take from me, it is I really like movies. There's a lot of things I like, but I like movies. I love sitting down and being enveloped in a story. And I've talked you guys' ears off already, but the last couple of movies I've seen, and there was Cats. So if you guys do not know about Cats, even though Amanda went into full detail last time about it, let me just kind of go over it. This is an adaptation of the Broadway musical that was on for a very long time. I didn't know jack shit about Cats. Everyone's heard Memories at some point or another, whether it was in the School of Rock or just genuinely hearing it. Everyone's heard the song Memories, and it's the most iconic song in the entire musical. It's the thing that it's most known for. So we go to a theater that we know we can just sit down and like what, like if we're gonna the thought process was, if we're gonna watch this, we want to watch this on like a nice screen so that we can really take everything in, like everything. God damn it. And we go into the theater, and it is a lot fuller. It's not packed, but it's a lot fuller than I was going to give it credit. Star Wars is playing, and so is Jumanji, and so is a bunch of other movies. Spies in Disguise was our other choice, mind you. And we decided to go see Cats. And I remember it being hype. Like, I remember being like, yeah, let's go see Cats. It's going to be so horrible. So the first scene starts off, like, the lights go down, and everyone in the theater, like, there's more people in there than I expected. In fact, in our row when we originally got the tickets, it was like, oh, no one's gonna sit here. There was like a good number of people on my like right side, and the lights lower, and the movie starts, and it goes da, 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 da. And it's weird because it's like it's very 80s. It sounds like it's on a synth. And it starts off, and there's a car driving on the we get to like the stage set, like everything's fine and grand, and at first I'm like, oh yeah, this is maybe this won't be so bad, and then they show up. Now I can't emphasize enough how I've seen a lot of movies in my life, and I've seen a lot of horror movies in my life, and I've seen, like, to me, the best horror movies are like Alien, the original Alien, like some of those original ones where like you use your imagination to really just fuck with you, and in the shadows, in the darkness of the alleyways, you see them, and it's so unnerving. I've been to so many movies, and I've seen so much, so many weird things, and I'm not too, like, me, I'm a big bitch baby when it comes to like horror games and stuff like that, but like I do love horror aesthetic and stuff like that, but like the scene, like to see how they move, and to see like it's only the shadows of it, it's so scary, it is so unnerving. And I sat, like, my eyes went wide. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? And like, there's a part of me that's like, it's Cats. It's Cat. Mitchell, you're dumb. It's Cats. You saw trailers for this. It's Cats. But there's another part of me that's like, what the fuck? Like, is this a cult? Is this a fucking cult? And then they start talking about Jellicle Cats. And they fucking talking about fucking how high they fly in the sky. The Jellicle Cats. And then I had to turn to Gangmudo and say, what the fuck is a Jellicle cat? A Jellicle is a fictional type of feline from the stage musical Cats. Jellicle cats were first mentioned in the T.S. Eliot 1933 poem Five Finger Exercises, and later developed into a 1939 light poetry book, Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats. Jellicle cats are fucking weird. They do a lot of shit, and I don't like it. The first song in the musical is talking about the fucking Jellicle cats, and it doesn't. I can't tell if Jellicle cats are like is it supposed to be like, oh, it's like angelical, like, oh look, they're like angels. No, it's no. So they're like, can you see in the dark? And I know it's supposed to be like, oh look at we're being teleported to a magical world where cats can sing, and I'm fucking sitting there and I'm like, like I'm about to die, like I feel like I'm gonna die, and it's and it's just like, and they start speaking like tongues, like I've never seen cats before. And the last thing I know this director had done was Les Mis, one of my favorite musical movies of all time. I think it's really good, like fucking Hugh Jackman. It's really, really solid. It's great. It's grand. And I forgot everything. I forgot everything about cats. I forgot the conversation I had with Amanda. I forgot everything about it. And it's like, are you born? Are you blind when you're born? Can you see in the dark? And then like another person goes like, can you look at the king? Would you sit on his throne? And it's like, what the fuck? Like I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh god, what? Like the lyrics, like. The first couple of lyrics set it up, and it's so weird, because the lady in the car, it's clearly a set piece. The lady in the car drives up to like a little junk, like a little like trash area, throws the bag with our main cat, Victoria. They cut the bag. I'm sorry that I'm going so into detail. They cut the bag open, and then they start the song, because Jellicle cats are Angelicans do, Jellicas do, and what Jellicas would, like, oh, like, what the fuck? Like, it's just, and then like they're moving, and they're fucking, they're just trying to like be cats, but like it's this weird uneasy middle ground where like they don't look like cats. They look like what, like if you ever seen the horror movie Splice, it's like if someone took like the humanoid of Splice and fucking like spliced it with a cat, and that's just who we're dealing with, and it's just horror. And I literally turned to Gangmudo during the movie. I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen a movie before, because I want to die. because like I've never sat through a movie and like and it's just and they're just like, this is what Jellicle cats do, and they fucking dance and they're telling, I'm like, do you fly in the sky? Do you fucking do jumping jacks? And it's like, no, no, I don't fucking know. It's fucking, and it's supposed to be like magical. That's the worst part. It's like it. It's supposed to be magical. It's supposed to be like, oh yeah, like oh look at all the cool, like, oh, aren't these fun cats, and they do all sorts of things. And I'm sure on like, because I've seen the stage production costumes for this thing. It's very well known. Like, they're very vibrant and furry, and they do the makeup with the noses and stuff. I keep going back and looking at the picture of Taylor Swift. Okay, that's what happens. I go out of window for a second to look at other things, chat, or like pull up details or stuff, and then I go back. Like, that's all I can do. That's all I can. That's all my body physically rejects it. Oh god, and it's just, and I didn't know that Cats was like an hour of character introductions. I didn't know that every song was a character introduction. And if I knew that going into it, I think it would have been a little better. If, like, that's the thing. Gang Muno said it best. Cats is made for people who like cats. Like, people who already know what they're getting themselves into. Because Cats is... I don't know how the fuck they do it on the Broadway musical or whatever, how they present the information, or maybe it's somehow different or whatever. Like, that's the thing. I think, because like I said, I genuinely like some of the songs. Like, some of the songs are very like, catchy. There's one about twin calicos, and we couldn't remember their names, even though they say it in the song, so we kept calling them Rin and Len cats. Because that's all I could think of, and apparently that's the only twins in history that I know. But like that song is pretty fun. I actually really like the magical Mr. Mistopheles song. I love the concept of a magic cat. Like, that's cute. That's a cute thing on paper, and I can't emphasize enough. Like, I say that's a cute thing on paper, and like, mind you, you're sitting in the theater for like 30 fucking minutes. Like at this point, if your mind hasn't melted and congealed to the idea that, oh right, these are cats. These are fucking cat. Like if you haven't sat there and you're like, oh yeah, like no, they're people. Like, you have to just confide. Like, you have to warp your mind's perspective on what a cat is for 2 hours. Otherwise, you're not gonna get through the fucking movie. Ugh. I had no idea what the fuck was happening for the first 40 minutes. I was so fucking confused because they kept introducing new characters, and there's the fucking fat cat that trains mice and cockroaches to do shit in bad CG land. There's James Gordon fucking cat who crushes his own balls on accident. There's and oh, mind you, there's Idris Elba evil cat. And fucking Evil Cat. And Evil Cat has the power of, I guess, Crocodile from One Piece. Because he turns himself into sand and just disappears with a snap of his fingers. He's like, sand burial! And then fucking like, that's Gara with sand. Different characters, same power. Fucking shambles! And then fucking just like disappears, you know? And like, and there's and like, you get introduced to so many characters like back to back, and then the worst part is like, because I have no concept, like me and Gangudo have no idea what the fuck's happening, but there's other people in the theater who are clearly into it, so I have to fight back laughing and or screaming for like 2 hours. There was an actual moment in the movie when I was gonna tell like Gangudo a joke about what was happening on screen. I turned, and because I had held back so much laughter, I turned to her and I start cough laughing because I realized how much I'd been holding back in those moments. That is how fucking bad this movie is. Oh. Judi Dench is weird. I need a moment. Like, fuck. There's a moment. So that's the thing, right? So every time we go to a different scene, it's a different. I feel like I have more to talk about with this than Rise of Skywalker. Like that's how fucked this is. Because at least with Rise of Skywalker, I had some semblance of what was happening. There's a plot and there's threads, and I can connect them, right? Even if some of it felt like a video game plot, like, I'm like, yeah, okay, I get that. Like, I can see where we're going. But with this, it's like, okay, I kind of get where we're going. It's very obvious that there's certain things that are going to happen. Like, there's a reject cat that was once Glamour Cat, and apparently she hung out with Idris Elba Cat, and now no one likes her anymore, and it's very obvious that she's going to sing Memories, and she's going to become the one that, like, oh, that's a thing. So apparently when Victoria goes into the fucking Catland, they said, Tobey Maguire Cat. I don't know if it's Tobey Maguire. Don't fucking quote me on that. But he looks like Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire Cat says, hey, you're just in time for the cat ball. And the cat ball apparently is the thing in which all the cats have like a talent show. They didn't really fully express that shit. They just said, oh, one gets picked. One gets picked. And the cat essentially gets reincarnated into the next life. And Idris Elba really wants to get reincarnated. So it is not made clear what has happened. So Idris Elba will go see a character like while all the other characters are in the next musical number, and he'll snap his fingers after getting their attention and then fucking disappear them into what I'm assuming is sand burial. It is revealed later that he actually is teleporting them to a barge in the middle of the river because it takes place in London. And the idea is that if you guys can't perform, then I will win the talent show, sand burial, and then then he disappears. So and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like that's what you would come up with if you had to come up with a plot for like a talent show. Like, haha, if there's no one else to challenge me, then I will automatically win. So then it turns out Judi Dench is like this old ass cat, like this old like queen of cat. Oh, lord of cat, like, you know, like, oh man, like, oh, it is I, mommy cat. And I will choose which one of you will be reincarnated, because that's kind of fucked up that I'm queen, but hey, I'm Judi Dench. And it's like, all right, Judi Dench, like, it's good to see you. And then there was the moment that broke me. You probably ask yourself, Mitchell, it sounds like you were broken this whole time, but no, there was the moment that broke me. I saw in the corner of my eye, because they didn't focus on him, mind you. They didn't focus on him at first, but you see him. And when you see him, you can't unsee him, and you're sitting there in the theater, not sure whether you're ready to cry or ready to laugh. And Ian McKellen is dressed up like a fucking cat. Ian fucking McKellen. Magneto himself. Fucking Cogsworth from Beauty and the Beast for some of you. Gandalf the Grey for others. Is in the corner. With little whiskers and a scarf, and he has a little like red nose because he's got a cold. And he is Gus. Apparently, it's short for asparagus, as he tells us in his song, and he is the theater cat. And I sat there, and I looked at Gangbudo, and I said, I want to die. I want to die. Because I don't know what's real anymore. I've never had a movie make me cry. And I know it sounds like I'm playing this up, like, oh, Mitchell, like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Mitchell, you're playing it up for comedy. Oh, you're being a standard YouTuber. Soon you'll make the thumbnails with the little circles pointing at the fucking arrow. No, I'm being fucking real. I've never had an actual moment in a movie. Like, I have been to so many movies, and I've never had, like, an actual moment where, like, oh, fuck, like, I wanted to vomit and or laugh at the same time, and that's Cats in a nutshell. That should be the tagline. I've never wanted to vomit and or laugh, because, fuck, like, it is, like, I'm trying not to overplay it, but, like, I can't, like, it's 2 hours of your life. It'd be one thing if it was, like, an hour and a half, or maybe even, like, 2 hours, or, well, no, because it is 2 hours, but, like, you lose your sense of time. Because you don't know because it doesn't even follow like a traditional thing, because you spend like 40 minutes to an hour. Every song is a new character introduction. By the time we get to the 40-minute mark, we're already doing another character introduction. We're doing the Ren and Lin fucking cats. And then after that, we get a tiny introduction of the magical Mr. Mistopheles, and then after that we get Judi Dench cat song, and then after that we get the cat orgy song, in which they're all like, ha 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 ha, ha the moon is out, ha 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 ha. We're gonna dance, and we're gonna put our little tails and swirl and shit. And then Judi Dench lifts her leggy all the way up in the air, and I'm like, oh fuck! I'm like, why Judi Dench? I'm like, why are you doing this? And like Gus comes out, and it's only when Gus came out that I'm like, okay, that's what's happening. When he's backstage and like fucking Mr. Mistopheles goes back and checks on him. It's like, hey, you're gonna be up soon. Big fan of yours, by the way. And it's like, oh well, ha ha ha. Like I'm a theater cat. Okay, but performance. Ha, I get it because you do magic. Okay. And then he does his act. That's only when my stupid, shitty, fucking Star Wars riddled brain was like, oh, talent show. They're doing a talent show to see which one gets reincarnated. And that's a character introduction song. And the next one is a character introduction song, because the next one is it's supposed to be a song about a cat who thinks that he runs the fucking trains. And it's cute, and he does and I will admit the tap shoe bit is fun. And that's the part that sucks. Is that I like musicals. I enjoy them casually. I enjoy the songs. I'm a very musical person. Like, maybe not like musical in that sense, but I enjoy musicals. I think that they're a fun way to do it, right? To tell a story. And the songs are not bad. And I can't emphasize that enough. The songs are not bad. But there's so many decisions about the songs that are bad in this fucking movie. Because there's so many times in which it's like, why is there an 80 synth? Why do we have to have this? Like, this is a fucking movie production. I don't know why, but the 80 synth in this doesn't, like, it'd be one thing if it's like, wow, Stranger Things or some shit like that. Or like something where it's like, oh, it takes place, it's very obvious, it takes place in the fucking 80s. But it's very clear that the synth is a relic of, the synth is a relic of when it was made, and I can't to leave it in on purpose feels like it's disconnective. It makes me even more uneasy to see the current 3D shit happening before my eyes, and I feel like I'm watching a film that like you watch to induct people into a goddamn cult. Like, that's how fucking bad this is. Oh. So then the tap dancing cat does his bit, and it's cute. It's very cute, and the CG in some scenes is actually pretty. No, who am I fucking kidding? It's not good. It's okay, which I don't even know where to fucking begin on that. Oh, it's so fucking uneasy to look at, and mind you, this is about the hour 20 mark, right? You have to be used to it by now, or you're not gonna fucking survive, or you've already walked out the fucking door. So that's when Taylor Swift comes down on her moon piece and starts spraying all the catnip everywhere and getting all the other cats either what looked like paralyzing orgasms. That's the only way I could, because it's like, oh, catnip, oh, they get a little flake on them, and then they'd be like, oh, oh, and then they fucking like the orgasm like hardcore, and then they're like stuck orgasming for like fucking paralyzed, and it sounds like an exaggeration, but look at the scene and you will understand what I'm saying. And Taylor Swift singing the song about Nakavity, I think is his name. Nakavity is the big bad. He's Idris Elba. And Idris Elba's always been shown in like a fur coat and hat. And this is the one scene in the movie where he's not. And his CG looks so fucking bad, I actually thought it was just naked Idris Elba for a second. Like dancing alongside these cat people. That's how fucking bad it was, because they decided to pick the color of his goddamn fur to be the color of his goddamn skin. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I skipped Jason Derulo. I'm sitting here like fucking trying to explain this experience, and I skipped Jason Derulo because guess what? It's another character introduction. Rum Tug Tugger is his character's name, and I might have fucked that up, but I don't really give a shit. Like he and that's another great song, and I love it because he's just a slut cat like that. And I know that's not like appropriate just to call him that, but that's the gimmick. He's a slut that. He's a I meant to say he's a cat. Goddamn, shut up. Get yourself together, you piece of shit. He's a cat who sleeps around, and he's like playful and shit. And like that's like the whole gimmick. Is just he's like the song is okay, and Jason Derulo actually is like really like a solid singer, but then they have to have stupid interruptions. They have to keep like interrupting his fucking song, like with like dumb little comments and shit, and like ugh. But the worst part is I was actually enjoying myself during that scene because I'm like, oh, that's a cool gimmick, you know, Jason Derulo and stuff. And then it took me out of it again. So he goes to a milk bar, and this is earlier in the film. I'm sorry that I'm kind of jumping, but like he fucking goes to a milk bar, and the milk starts pouring, and me and Gangwidow both had the same thought of just come. It's just come, and that's what it is. And he lifts up Victoria a little bit, and instead of being like ha ha ha, she goes and she like, makes real ass cat noises, and it took me out of it. And it wasn't just me. Because I could tell that other people were also super uneasy with that, to the point where one of the older people in the audience went, like they fucking like they were like they couldn't believe their fucking ears. Oh, fuck. So let's go back to Macavity. Macavity goes and does his song, and it's a pretty solid bit. Taylor Swift is supposed to be seductive as a cat, and it's weird, and I didn't like it, and it's probably one of the better songs. If I didn't see the visual, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more. And then Judi Dench says, "You'll never go to heaven or to the reincarnation, you fucking evil Idris Elba cat." And Idris Elba says, "Fuck you, shambles," and then fucking teleports her with sand to the barge. And so then it all falls on the magical Mr. Mistopheles to puff her back into fucking existence and save her before Idris Elba fucking takes a spear and attempts to like make her walk the plank. And so leading to to me, the best moment of the fucking film, if I could even have that moment of clarity to say that. Because the magical Mr. Mistopheles bit feels like the most genuine of all of the fucking songs. And that's not fair for me to say that about Memories, because Memories is a very nice song. But I like magical Mr. Mistopheles a lot better. There's something about the scene where it's him doubting himself as a magician, but then all the other cats try to like push up his ego so that he can fucking do it. And then he can't do it, and then at the very end, it's revealed that it looked like he fucked up, but he actually brought Judi Dench back. And there's something about that like actually works. And like for a moment, I'm like, oh, okay. And then Victoria brings in fucking the Memory Cat sings Memories. Judi Dench says, "Hey, you're the one I'm going to reincarnate." Idris Elba tries to catch, and then fucking Memory's cat goes into the blimp, and the blimp flies up into the air, and Idris Elba tries to catch on the tail, like the fucking cloth, and then he fucking falls off and lands on top of a statue. And then they end the movie with Judi Dench looking right into the fucking camera in her big fucking cat face, telling you the meaning of the movie, and then the movie ends. I know that was a long. Yes, okay, so Grozen, this is the first time I'm actually addressing the chat this time, and I feel bad. So that's what happens. Like, the movie, she addresses the film and sings a song about what the movie's supposed to be about and what you're supposed to take about and how you're supposed to treat your cats, and it's very tongue-in-cheek and fun. And then it ends. And I guess the gimmick is that you're supposed to like have like what a wonderful time in the world of cats. But like, fuck. Would I ever watch this movie again? I don't fucking know. Would I recommend this to anyone? I will. You have to have like a shitty sense of humor. You have to like go in and like be like, that's the thing. I went in as a joke. This was supposed to be fun, right? I did have fun, but I also got way more than I got. Rian Johnson. I didn't get what I expected, but did I like what I got instead? I don't know, and that's the worst part. I've been thinking about this movie a lot. Now, I had the pleasure of seeing the unedited version. Now, I'm not sure if you guys know about this, but like we talked about last week, there is a version of this movie that's going to go out that's going to have a lot of fixes to it. And I highly recommend you do not watch that version. I highly recommend if you want to feel like viscerally gross out of your fucking minds. Like, I can't guarantee that, because obviously everyone's going to interpret this information differently. And if you stare at this fucking Taylor Swift cat long enough, and if you're feeling the same feeling I'm feeling, then maybe, just maybe, you will get the same bit out of this. Because guess what? Do you see those? Something that always bothered me is how extras look. So I'm not sure if you can tell in this scene from the screenshot. Yeah, you see the two, like the couple cats in like in the left hand corner. Does it make you uneasy because they almost look like they're just naked people, and that's what they are? Like the way that it's framed, like a fucking horror movie. Then maybe you should go see Cats. We'll talk more about it, obviously, because Gangman and I, obviously it's going to be a lot more lighthearted than, and that's the thing. I did enjoy my experience, not the movie, my experience with the movie, because I think it's so unique. There's something that you can only get out of these terrible fucking movies, it's so weird to get out of. I can't emphasize enough how like it's something in which like if you go see a movie on purpose because you know it's gonna be bad. Yeah, more power to you, whatever. That's what I do it all the time. But this definitely delivered something different and almost like just scary on like a whole, like just unnervingly scary for some reason. Like it's not horror. Like that's the worst part. It's like I can't explain how uneasy and how just fucked it was to watch this movie. But we're done with movies. I can take that away from you guys and don't have to fucking look at it. And I'm gonna go ahead and introduce the next part of this. No, not that one. The next part of this this podcast. I feel kind of bad because I got winded talking about fucking cats. So let's go ahead and get into the next part of this, shall we? Which is my hey guys. This last decade has been pretty stellar, hasn't it? I know that I just spent fucking 30-40 minutes talking about cats, but this last decade has been pretty solid on video games, and like I said before, I've been kind of seeing everyone kind of talk about their like best of and all that stuff. Like everyone's talking about like the video games they're really digging and enjoying for like the last 10 years, and I wanted to give my quick take. So once again, cannot emphasize this enough. This is not a specific order. Also, some of these games might not be the best games ever, but they're definitely games that I super love and games that I think defined the last 10 years for me. So we're gonna go with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. With I would say the easiest pick of all of them, which is Pokemon X and Y. So Pokemon X and Y came out in like around 2013, something like that. I once again, I'm not. Come on, you guys know me by now. I'm not gonna get these years exact. But fucking Pokemon X and Y came out like around the time that I was in college, And I hadn't played Pokemon since Ruby and Sapphire. Like, that's how long it was since I played the games. And a lot of my friends were getting into it at the time, so I said, "Hey, fuck it, why not? Why don't I check out this game?" And I remember getting like a 2DS because I couldn't afford a 3DS. And I had to get like one of those little wedge holders and stuff like that because it's just the 2DS was like a fun, like I didn't like the 3D aspect of the 3DS, and it made sense to me to get the 2DS. But with X and Y, like I got super back into Pokemon. This was the first game to have little 3D models on the 3DS. And obviously the game is way more polished now. I mean, I've been playing Sword and Shield like literally every day on my vacation. But I remember like having things like automatically having the EXP share, and not only that, but having EXP share all the time, which for some people was a controversial move, made the games too easy or whatever. I think that it was fine for what it was, and it's funny because I look back on it now, and I only find out things like today, even where it's like, I guess a lot of people didn't like X and Y, and I guess a lot of people didn't really enjoy it, or didn't think that it was a good Pokemon game. But for someone who's been out of the franchise for as long as I was, I had missed Black and White and Diamond and Pearl. I'd been out for some time, since like elementary school, to come back to X and Y and to get into like Pokemon breeding and fucking doing EV training and stuff like that through the mini games and stuff, and like just getting into it. I'll never forget just having a Talonflame always in my party because he had fucking heat body or flame body, and it like helped me with the eggs and going in that big circle in the plaza. Like, to me, like that's like it's one of the best games. Like I know that people don't really like some people might not like X and Y for what it is, but to me, it's what got me back into Pokemon. Playing with my friends and playing with my college, like especially my college friends at the time, like we would trade Pokemon with each other. There was not a single person I didn't know who wasn't playing X and Y, and just getting into the competitive scene just a little bit, not enough to like fully Ivy stuff with my Pokemon, but just enough to kind of dip my toes a little, and to see all the Pokemon, and obviously that generation had Froakie and Chespin and Fennekin, which were some of my favorite starters, and like having all these Pokemon, and it's just, I don't know, like to me, like I missed out on so much. And I didn't end up playing Sun and Moon, as some of you guys know, because I was trying to wait for the show, and it never happened. And then getting back into it with Sword and Shield now, obviously I'm still having a great time, and I'm loving the Galar region, but I wouldn't put like Sword and Shield ahead of X and Y, because at the end of the day, I think I got into X and Y at the right time. It was college, everyone was playing this game, everyone had a lot more free time, at least for me, For me, like that was the perfect time to play Pokemon, because like nowadays, like a lot of my friends who were playing Pokemon aren't playing Pokemon, and it's one of those things where it's like, as much as I love Sword and Shield, there's a lot of people who obviously have their problems with it. I mean, I don't personally have any issues with Sword and Shield outside of like maybe like one or two. I think it's a wonderful, great game. I think it's a perfect game for the Switch, and I think it's like it's a great first step for making more like interesting games on on a mainstay console. And I know there's a lot of people who are like, well, why aren't the Pokemon scaled properly? And then I have to like point to Dynamaxing and how that's a whole fucking thing, and you wouldn't want a Wailord that's relative size to then, there's a whole fucking thing. And like that's the thing. Like we had that with, we got spoiled. I almost feel like we got a little spoiled with Let's Go Eevee, because Let's Go Eevee had proper scaling with the Pokemon and the 3D models, and it looked awesome. It looked great. I love seeing Giant Onix. Like that was fucking cool. And like I would, a part of me wants to replay Let's Go Eevee, but I don't think like it would have the same magic as it did like a year ago. And to be honest with you, I'm having way too much fun with Pokemon Sword and Shield. Right now, I'm having I'm trying to like theme my Pokemon after like a haunted mansion idea, and it's really cool. And the reason I can even talk about it is because Pokemon X and Y got me back into Pokemon. And I also just Professor Sycamore and all that shit. Like, I don't know. I just remember like that. Like, it was a good time to get into Pokemon, and to have French Pokemon seemed like a really like neat and cool idea. So, it's definitely one of the things that I just really enjoy, and I know that like once again, I know people have their issues with it. But this is my top 10 list, so go fuck yourself. No, I'm just fucking with you. It's I get it. I super do. All right, so that's my first one. All right, next one is, like I said, these you can't compare these. They're not in a list, and I don't think one is better than the other, because guess what my next one was? Motherfucking Revengeance. this fucking game. Another one that came out during my college years for the PS3 was Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. This was Hideo Kojima and Platinum Games teamed up to make this fucking amazing game. And I know a lot of people out there are like, hey, what the fuck is Revengeance? Or better yet, they're like, hey, this game sucked. And I'm going to tell you right now that you're probably right. This game isn't perfect. None of these games on this list are going to be perfect. That's not the point of this list. But I can't tell you how many times I've played this game, because I just kept playing it. I was once again, another game that came out when I was in college. I had a job and everything, and I would just play through this game over and over and over and over and over and over again, getting different costumes and doing something I normally don't do with video games for my own personal sanity and sense of accomplishment, which is up the difficulty ridiculously. I upped the difficulty on this thing fucking ridiculously. I wanted that suit. I wanted all the costumes for Raiden. I wanted to, to get better at this game, because this game is so fucking good, and I hate the fact that I've already played it on the channel, because I would play it again in a heartbeat. Revengeance is one of those games that is just like everything I could possibly want in a package. It's cyborgs, it's ninjas, it's high-frequency blades. There's a samurai named Sam. Jetstream fucking Sam, and he's a samurai, and he's cool. There's fucking weird, sick shit. Raiden will fucking jump on missiles to get to the enemy to cut him in half, and the enemy is a giant fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex tank, and it's awesome, and everything's cool. Vengeance is one of the coolest fucking games out there, and I know you probably think to yourself, Mitchell, all that sounds cool, if not a little cheesy. But how's that soundtrack? That soundtrack is the fucking greatest soundtrack of all fucking time. It is so goddamn metal. It is so fucking cool. And I know that obviously I'm exaggerating a little, but I'm also not. Even the DLC song is so fucking baller. It's so cool. Winds of Destruction is so solid. If you do not know what the fuck I'm talking about when I'm talking, if you hear me actually getting hyped just talking about this game, it's so good. My mind, it's exploding. It is, to me, it's one of the biggest missed opportunities. Because this game was, the Hideo Kojima wasn't 100% happy with this game, and unfortunately, it had been in production hell forever. With no sequel in sight, despite how awesome I think this game is. Mind you, this game, I don't want to talk about this particular detail, but I'm going to say it. There is a time in which the main villain of this game says, it's time to make America great again. And I now I could be fucking misremembering that, but I remember that detail so fucking vividly in my mind. And it could be a dream for all I know, but I just that's the thing. This game is like a fucking 80s movie on steroids. It's so good. The action is so good. The combat is so good. The story, it's okay. It's not the greatest thing ever. I'm obviously coming from the guy who made fucking Metal Gear Solid, but it's still serviceable, and it's ridiculous, and it's awesome. There's a fucking metal wolf right there on the fucking image I posted. That's how cool it is. And the wolf has a chainsaw that it can pull out and holds a sword in its mouth sometimes. Oh, it's so cool. Oh. Okay, so yeah, Revengeance is really awesome. The DLC once again is really solid, and the music is just fucking so fucking good. Like those mixes, those like fucking Rules of Nature. Obviously, Rules of Nature has been overplayed to hell from being a meme at the time of this game's release. I super get it. Don't get me wrong, super get it. But at the same time, this is like it's so fucking good. I really wish they would have done more. And I know there's a lot of people out there who will like say, well, there's other games that are like this game. But to me, there isn't. Because guess what, motherfucker? You can launch an enemy in the air and slice him in half, and he will fall apart in 2 pieces. Or you can slice him up as many times as you want. And there's some weird satisfaction of being able to cut anything and everything in this game. And maybe not everything, quote unquote, but most things can be cut in half. You beat an enemy up, you fucking slash it, like there's that cool satisfaction of breaking a guard or or parrying properly. I need a drink of water because I got way too hyped. And then you fucking you beat an enemy and then you fucking slice them in half. You pull out their fucking spine because it's full of electrolytes, and you crush the cyborg. It's a cyborg. It's not a real person. It's a cyborg. Well, I mean, they are real people, but it's not like Mortal Kombat. Like, it's cyborgs. You pull it out, it's blue. You crush it, it's blue. There's like red light from his eye. It's the whole thing. The point is that it's so good. It's so solid. But we can't. I could sit here and talk about fucking Revengeance all day. We have more of this list to go through. It's a whole fucking thing. Anyways, so yes, Revengeance. This game was available on Steam. It was available on the PS3 a long time ago, but it is available on Steam if you want to go check that out. I cannot emphasize enough. So solid, such a good game. The next game we have is another really solid game. Every single one of them is very solid. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about The World Ends With You. To me, I know it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like it, but believe it or not, The World Ends With You did come out at the very beginning. As I'm like, did it come out? Did it come out in 2009? I can't fucking remember. It did come out in 2007. So here's the deal. This game, I did not get a chance to play it until 2010. So it's kind of broken up. But then obviously this technically doesn't count for the list, but it's another really solid game that came out. I guess I could break the rules and say it's a solo remix. The World Ends With You is one of those games that I really wish had more attention, and so does Square Enix because they released this game fucking 2 other times. So I am technically breaking the rules on this one, but I've replayed this game multiple times throughout the last couple of years, and I know it's one of those weird games. It's kind of hard to explain without giving everything away. But this game was really, it means a lot to me. And I don't want to get in. I don't want to do that whole thing where it's when I was fucking in middle school, I had no friends and I played this game all the time. No, that's not what I'm fucking doing. But I played this game at the right time in my life. I feel you ever get told that maybe you got to read a book. If you read not Great Gatsby, if you read Catcher in the Rye at different points in your life, you'll gain different perspectives. And the same is true for The World Ends With You. I played this game when I was 15, when I was fucking 19 and 20, and kept playing it. And I think the last time I replayed it was when I was 24. And this game holds up, and I keep meaning to play it again on the Switch, because they did have a mix that came out for this game, and there is a definite moment of man, I really do want to play this game, and I think that for a lot of people who I'm trying to think of a good way of wording this. I wouldn't want to make a sequel to this game only because I don't think I could come up with a really good way to do the twists, because there is such a very interesting way that they handled everything in the original game that I think that it would be very hard to replicate the surprises and the twists and turns of the game. And if you did want to make a sequel, I think you'd have to get like a writer, like I would say the writer of something like Psycho-Pass, honestly, like the original season, not season 2. You need to get something like someone who can take it to that next step, the evolution of its plots and themes and ideas. And I think that would be really interesting. If you haven't checked out The World Ends With You, I know I kind of broke the rule on this. It was in 2007, but they do have re-releases on mobile devices with Solar Remix. And there's another one that just came out for the Switch. The game, I think, still runs either 40 or 60, unfortunately. With the mobile device one being 20. But like it's really good. This game is one of my forever games. Like it's up there with Final Fantasy X of being like a game that I could look at and listen. And once again, another bomber ass fucking soundtrack. A lot of these games will have really solid soundtracks. Music's a really big thing with me. And as far as an interesting RPG system goes, this game really took the cake when it first came out. That being said, let's go ahead and move on, because I can't get too into it without like spoiling everything. So just have this image, and that's what we'll kind of go from there. The next game on the list is BlazBlue Chrono Phantasma Extend, and there's a very specific reason why it's this version. This is the version of the game that, like, I would say it was a big toss-up between this one and Continuum Shift. Continuum Shift Extend is a really good game, do not get me wrong, but BlazBlue Chrono Phantasma Extend, like, this was the game that, like, I went out of my way to get this game from fucking Japan. I was so in love with BlazBlue, and so in love with like the characters and stuff like that. Like I remember when Kokonoe came out and all that stuff. Like I love BlazBlue as a fighting game. It's so fucking good. And like as a story, like even like the first games with Calamity Trigger and like all sorts of like fun story plot devices and all the convoluted dumb shit they pull is like it was really interesting. Nowadays, I'm not entirely sure about how I feel about like the story, but at the time of Chrono Phantasma, it was really solid, and like having additions to the roster like that I felt were just really solid. It was the time before Kurogane and Nine and all those other characters that would come in that I kind of feel that's the thing. I don't want to talk shit about those characters. It's not that they're not welcome or anything like that, but like I didn't put a lot of time after Chrono Phantasma Extend. After Chrono Phantasma Extend came out, like that was it. Like that was my version of the game, and that's when I put in the most hours. That's when I put in the most time. And like as a fighting game, I think it's like perfection. Like that is like perfect in my mind. Continuum Shift is still good. I just didn't put in as much time. The BlazBlue series has a wonderful story. We've talked about it like for like a long ass time about how like we wanted to do it for the show and how we would do it and all that stuff, and it's still something I really want to do. You know, BlazBlue is one of those things that I think gets a lot of shit for like how much is on screen, but like if you ever actually play it, like it's pretty fun. Like it's one of it is my favorite fighting game. And I know Cross Tag Battle is out right now, and yes, I know that Cross Tag Battle is like the Mitchell the game. Like, you know, it has Unibel and it has Persona 4 and it has like, you know, Persona or P4AU, and it has obviously the BlazBlue characters and Ruby. And Ruby might not have been the one I picked, but you know, it's still welcome. It's still like a good, you know, choice. But to me, this is it. To me, this is the version of the game that like really just was so solid. And once again, another great soundtrack. For anyone who's curious about the BlazBlue soundtrack, I would definitely recommend Ragna vs. Jin's theme, which is not Rebellion or Lust Sin. Those are two different songs. I can't actually remember the name of it. It might be Lust Sin for all I know. But like there's two different versions of the songs. Both of them are really solid. They're really interesting renditions. I like X-Matic a lot because that's the Carl Clover Rebellious song. The first one's played up like slow and like methodical, and it's very interesting to hear like the guitars and all the instruments kind of come together. And then the second version of it is everything is just balls to the walls, the drums fucking are going crazy, everything is like really high energy because it's the battle is still going on. Like the first one almost feels condescending in nature compared to the second one where it's more frantic and almost rage filled. How the song feels. I know it's an interesting way to kind of describe a music, but like you with their story, it makes sense. And getting those emotions across with these characters through song, I think, is a very powerful tool in Blaze Blues toolkit, because a lot of those songs, even the emotional ones, like they're songs that I know like that are just embedded in my brain. Speaking of really good stories, this next one is a no-brainer to a lot of people who have been following me for a long time. This was the image I could find for Dramatical Murder. I was trying to like put this all together like really, really quick. Dramatical Murder is still one of my favorite visual novels, if not my favorite visual novel. I know that it is a porn game, but it is one of the best stories that I've read. In a visual novel. And I know a lot of people will say, Mitchell, that's fucking dumb. You got to play this, this, or this. And what about Nekojishi? No. What about Mufflove? Oh, fuck. No. The thing I really like about Dramatical Murder is the fact that it was my first real foray into that kind of storytelling. And I know that like there's also Danganronpa, which does a wonderful job at like the visual novel aspects. But there was something about Aoba and his friends that I really got into, that I really enjoyed, and it wasn't just the porn. I really, really like just how he interacts with everyone, and I love the way that every character is different. And I know Mink's a little, I know that people are either love him or hate him, but I do think he's an interesting character. And I do feel like these characters, each one was very unique and different, and each route was unique and different, and the true route is weird and fucked up. And I know that like it's not perfect by any means. It's not perfect, but it is one of my favorite visual novels, if not my favorite visual novel. It's a very hard recommendation though, because you never know entirely how people are going to take it, which I think makes it even more interesting. is to see like how people like kind of what they get out of it, right? Because Kojaku is my favorite. He's him. I love all of them. Like I can't say like, oh, Kojaku's my favorite, and then I look at Clear and I'm like, but Clear's good. Oh, and Noise and Mink's there too. Fuck. Like it's they're all great. Like they're all wonderful in their own ways. And I don't know. It was something in which I guess like I played it at the right time. It's another one of those I played it at the right time where it's like it definitely was like this little bundle of like I played it on my laptop. Like I used to own a really shitty laptop that I did the whole show on, and like I would play that game like fucking religiously on my laptop, and like just because I wanted to get through all the routes, and then I played the DLC almost like bonus extension routes, and like there were some characters that I fell in love with even more, and like I just love this game. I love Dramatical Murder. It's one of those games where like I see a picture of Alba or Kojaku or Noise or Clear or Mink or just any of those guys or just anyone in that game, and like my heart immediately melts a little because I just it's so good. Like it's so like it's such a guilty pleasure, but also like I am not ashamed of the fact that I like Dramatical Murder as much as I do. Because it's really solid. It's a really, really, really solid game. And I still absolutely hate that Nitro Plus Chiral did not put any of these boys in their fucking fighting game, but they put fucking Kirito in it. So fuck me, I guess. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Dramatical Murder, do not watch the anime. It is hot garbage, but that game though, oh, my heart just melts a little bit just knowing it. But yeah, so why don't we go ahead and get into the next one, yo? Aha! It's Persona 4. Out of all the Persona games, it's hard. Now it's not. I need to emphasize, it's not Persona 4. It's Persona 4 Golden, and there's a very specific reason why. I know that Persona 5 also came out this year, and I know that there might be some people who are like, Mitchell, why isn't Persona 5 on this list? Well, Golden is one of my favorite games of all time. I had bought a Vita specifically to play this game. I was in love with Persona. I was in love with Persona 4 in the very, very early days of the aughts. And playing Golden just emphasized that enough. It was like the perfect version of an already perfect game. The music's really solid. The fucking all the characters are just interesting and wonderful. And I've talked to death about Persona 4. I love Persona 4. I try to get all my friends into Persona 4. I love Naoto Shirogane so fucking much, and Kanji fucking Tatsumi. I fucking love these characters. I cosplayed Yu Narukami, and I don't cosplay often. That's how much I love Persona. Teddy is like just so fucking fun and cool. I don't know. It feels like one of those games that I don't really feel like I need to talk about because everyone already has a lot. This game is wonderful. It is an absolute joy to play. The first time I played it, I like, specifically Golden, like I wasn't entirely sure how I was gonna like it because I'm like, well, there's some changes. The changes they made to the game made the game a lot easier to kind of get through. They were kind of like changes that they made so that like you could get through the game a little easier, that just regular stuff to ease you through it a little more. I remember not having so much of so many issues trying to get through it all. But like it's like a whole thing. Like I'm trying to think of a way of wording it. If you asked me if you should play the original Persona 4 or Golden, I would argue Golden is just the better version, because it is. It's like a post-patch version of a game. Like even like Persona 4 was already so solid, and Golden just made it better. And I think the color scheme kind of tells you it. The original Persona was a lot of yellows and blacks with a couple of like shades of orange every now and then. In fact, recently, actually, as of like a couple days ago, I bought another copy of Persona 4 because my original copy was missing, and I bought it like a new version of it just because I could. And I'm gonna have Tabby go through it because she hasn't played it before, and it's one of my favorite games. It's really unfortunate that I think we lost Golden. Like I feel like we've lost it to like the Vita's time, and there's a part of me that really, really wishes that there would be some sort of remaster or remake of Golden, just for the new fans. Like it's the same thing I would wish for Persona 3 Portable. There's some things that we're gonna start losing as time goes on, unfortunately, and that's just the unfortunate truth of it. And I would hope that like Atlas will at least like try to keep those fans, because I mean, hey, if we're getting Tokyo Mirage Sessions on like the Switch, I mean, I would love a version of Golden on the Switch. I think that would be fucking awesome. And it comes to no surprise that, you know, obviously my channel's name was Velvet Room Gaming originally, so it tells you how much I fucking love this franchise. I fucking love Persona. It's great. Am I the biggest Persona 5? Or not 5 specifically, but am I the biggest Persona fan? Fuck no. You guys keep proving to me that I am clearly not as big of a fan as I think I am. Which I always think is like really, really funny. Because like there'll be details that I get wrong, or like something that I won't remember, and you guys will correct me on it, and it's I don't know. I thought I was a big fan, and then I met all of you, and it's funny. The next game on the list is Splatoon 2, another great song, great music, and I think this game really emphasized, like, I would put the original Splatoon here, but I didn't play it, because even though I had a Wii U, it was just never a game that crossed my mind. Splatoon 2 is one of those games that I can honestly, like, pick up just whenever and play, and unlike the other games where I could say, like, a lot about it, Splatoon 2 is one of those games that's like, it's a team deathmatch game. It's kind of hard to be like, oh yes, you know, like all this cool stuff. Like it's Splatoon. Like if you don't know what Splatoon is, it's a paintball game where you try to cover as much ground as you can. And I think, like, but like I've had so many fun nights just playing with friends. Even like some friends I don't even like. Some friends I might not even talk to like that often, or because life is so busy. Like, you know, like I'll be like, hey, want to play Splatoon? And like it's kind of fun to just go in and play a couple rounds because they're fast. Splatoon rounds are super fast. They're only 3 minutes long, and it's very easy to get lost in them. I think Splatoon is one of the most interesting ideas that Nintendo had for a shooter. I think it's really great. I do wish that there were some things that kind of were changed with it, just in terms of gameplay. Like, don't auto default to gyroscope, please. That's not awesome. Thank you. But yeah, so that was the shortest one we're going to have today. Also, Monster Prom. Monster Prom is one of those games that I never thought I'd put on a list like this, but it's definitely one of those games that like I've shared with tons of people. It I know this is weird to kind of put on like my top 10 games of the decade. This really is one of the coolest games I've ever played. I'm a big fan of visual novels, as a lot of you know, and it's one of those things where it's like, oh, a visual, like essentially a romance visual novel board game. Because that's what it boils down to. I would have like friends come over, and like I still want to like do that like to this day. Is I'll just have people come over, and we'll all try to romance someone, and it's a fun little board game, like a digital board game you can play. And like you put on voices and stuff like that, and it's one of my favorite Let's Plays we ever did. You know, it's definitely like in my top 10 games, like ironically of the decade. Like I think this game really speaks for itself and how well it is. There's so many different scenarios. Every time I play, there's like something new that I've never seen before. They keep adding on to it. And like it's just awesome. Monster Prom is an awesome game. If you haven't tried it out or get yourself a copy, I mean it's a pretty cheap game. Like it's definitely one of those games that like I can play with like a partner, or like I can play with like, you know, like just someone like else, like just friends, and drink and kind of try to romance. And you know, it's an awkward setup obviously because it's a computer and you have to kind of set that shit up in like a living room to and drink, and maybe sometimes run out of pretzels and shit, but hey, whatever. You know, I didn't buy the pretzels, but hey, whatever. Monster Prom is fucking awesome. If you haven't seen our Let's Play of it, go check it out. It's one of my favorite ones we ever did. And it's just an awesome game overall. Go support games like this. This was such a fun, like, novel idea for, like, a visual novel fucking board game, essentially. So, yeah. We kind of sped through the other two, and ironically, we're about to hit, like, one of the biggest fucking stops on this list, which is Final Fantasy XIV. I don't play MMOs. In fact, for majority of my life, I did not play MMORPGs. This is one of those games in which I played this game on a whim. They had a free trial of it on the PS4 or PS3 long ass time ago, back when the game was supported on the PS3, and I played it. I had a Lancer, it was a Lancer from Gridania. He was a human with blonde hair, and like that was his gimmick. And I was like, this is different. I was always a fan of Final Fantasy, but like this felt different. And like I wasn't big into MMOs, and it took a very long time to get used to the controls. But once I did, I was like fucking in it to win it. Eventually I would like get a subscription, start playing it like more often, because I'm like, this feels like different. And like I would try to convince my friends to play it, and I have over 1,300 something hours into this fucking game. I took a big break from it for a very long time. But it wasn't because the game's not fun. It's because I didn't have people to play with. But now I have friends to play with every now and then, and it's great. And I recently beat Shadowbringers, and then I stopped playing again because yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've talked about this game a lot in the past, and like especially on this podcast. I'm not really into multiplayer. Like, it took me a while to get really into multiplayer online games. I was very much a solo experience kind of player. Obviously Final Fantasy is one of like my favorite games. And every game on this list so far, except for like Splatoon and maybe one other, has been like games you play by yourself, but like this was one of those games where you could play by yourself. You can do the story all by yourself and only bring other people when you need to. And I think that's one of the appeals that FF14 has compared to other games like World of Warcraft and like some other MMOs where it does feel like you need other people. This is very much a game that I could argue that like it's fully voice acted. Well, not fully voice acted. There's a lot of voice acting in the game. There's like story threads. There's like everything feels wonderful. Every time you do something and you achieve something in the game, it feels great. Like I am now, like, I was a big DPS player when I started, but now I'm a tank player. I do the gunblade. I'm a what the fuck, gunbreaker. That's what they call them. I'm a level 80 that, and it's really good. I'm sorry, guys. 1 second. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so the thing, it's gonna be really awkward just to have like that one spot of just nothing. But like it's one of those games that I just really, really enjoy. It's so fucking solid. It's so fucking good. If you ever get like, if you ever want to try out like something that's a little different, give it a shot. It's one of those games that it was a pleasant surprise. I never thought that like I would play a trial of a game and then it becoming my most played game of all time. I've never played a game more than I've played Final Fantasy 14. And like it's and that's the thing, like I love 14 because you can kind of just do whatever you want. There's so much to do. Sometimes when I play 14, I'll be a botanist. And I'll plant shit, and I'll gather like stuff from trees. Other times, I'll be a gunbreaker, and I'll go through dungeons, perilous fucking dungeons, and like try to gain enmity from my team so that like enemies don't attack them. It's just a fun ass adventure. It is so goddamn good, and I know I keep saying that about every game on this list, but like it's such a good time. If you can get a group of friends and play this game, it is so worth your fucking time. Next up, Fire Emblem Three Houses. This is kind of it was between this one and Fates. It was really hard to pick this one between this one and Fates because Fates is pretty good and like, I don't know. It's I feel like I'm getting it wrong. I feel like I'm getting confused. I think I'm thinking of Fire Emblem Echoes. God damn it! Now I gotta look it up because I'm fucking it up. I'm my own podcast. God damn it! Fucking, as you can hear it. I hope you can hear every. No, it's not Echoes. Fire Emblem Fates is not the one I'm thinking of. What am I thinking of? Fire Emblem Conquest? No, Fire Emblem. Motherfucker. It's the one with Lucina in it. Like, god damn it! Like, that's why Three Houses won, because I don't even fucking remember. Awakening. Jesus Christ! Wow. Yeah, some Fire Emblem fan I am, huh? So yeah, it's like, yeah. So like that's the thing. Echoes. I really wish I played Echoes. I heard Echoes is really good. But between this and just all the other Fire Emblems I've ever played, Three Houses is one of the best games I've ever played. I keep saying that, but that's the truth with every single one of these on this list. Three Houses is one of those games that I fell in love with just immediately. It's strategic, it's fun, it's much. I would argue the changes they made to the game made it more mainstream or just more welcoming to a newer audience. Adding the dating quote unquote dating aspect with S ranks and stuff. The way it's implemented in this game is fun. It's just really good, and we've talked about it a lot on the show and a lot on this podcast how awesome Fire Emblem Three Houses is, and I mean everyone's already is talked to high hell and sucked the dick of all these characters. To completion. It's been done. Everything that has been said about this game has been said. But like when a game can get me to feel emotions for characters, like it's pretty, in my book, it's pretty solid. This next one, so that's the thing. That's my top 10 games. Believe it or not, we did a whole 10 games. But there is 2 games that I want to talk about that I feel kind of shitty talking about it because of the whole controversy with them. I played a lot of it would be dumb of me, not dumb, but it would be very dishonest if I didn't talk about Overwatch. Overwatch was my forever game. It is a game that I really enjoy playing. It is a game that I super love, like playing a successful rounds in. It is a game that I've played with all of my friends. Every single one of my friends I've played this game with at one point or another. And it sucks. It sucks that I can't put this on my fucking list. Because I am still doing my protest about it. I've heard some people kind of talk about the protesting of the game. And some people have put limits to their protests. Like some people are saying until Blitzchung kind of is allowed to play Hearthstone again. I'm tempted to cave. Like that's how bad it is. Like I'm tempted to cave on this shit. Like when Blitzchung can like fucking play, you know, Hearthstone, maybe I'll feel better playing this shit. I mean, that's the thing. It feels dumb. You know, it feels dumb that I can't say that, oh, this game that I have 5 fucking Funko Pops of and action figures of and things, that's something that I actually really, really like that I can't fucking, like, it's dumb. It's fucking dumb that, like, I can't be like, yes, Overwatch is one of my games of the fucking year, and it sucks. It sucks that I can't talk about it. Because and I know that, like, at the end of the day, it's like, Mitchell, who's really imposing the rule? No one's imposing the rule but myself. Because I really did like this game, and that sucks. So I don't know. I don't want to cower it out and fucking put a timer on or whatever. But I'm gonna gauge out the situation, because that's the thing. I don't know. There's just way too much to this fucking topic, and like it kind of sucks because like I was like all hype about all the other ones, then I didn't want to fucking end it on this, but I needed to say something. Overwatch is one of the best games that ever came out in the last 10 years because it is. It's one of the biggest games that come out in the last 10 years. There's not a single person in the fucking gaming world that doesn't know Overwatch. Same thing with Minecraft, or like that's how big it is, right? It's like Overwatch and Minecraft are essentially like that big. I would argue maybe Minecraft's a little bigger. But I also want to talk about one of my the games that I actually really, really enjoyed from Blizzard that's not Hearthstone. Maybe I should have put Hearthstone on this list. But Heroes of the Storm was another really big one. I loved Heroes of the Storm when it was being supported, and it still is technically up, and they added like a new character recently. I think they added Deathwing, and they still add characters, and they still are doing stuff with it, but like it's just not a priority to Blizzard right now. But like I love the concept of a MOBA, but I hated the toxicity of League of Legends, and I would play Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm still got toxic, but like it wasn't as bad. It's one of those games that unfortunately a lot of the changes that made it better happened after they just decided to stop mainline supporting it. Like Heroes of the Storm to me is one of like the better games that Blizzard, like the hidden gem of the Blizzard games. It's one of those games that like clearly a lot of love was put into it. All the character balancing was super solid. I would play like for hours with Nate or Sora or Josh or just like and just play this game for just ever. And I just have such fond memories of this game, you know. And unfortunately, Blizzard no longer like wants to make that like a top priority on their list. So, it's and I mean, hey, I mean when China is your top priority on your list, fuck. Anyways, so that's my top 10 anime list. Yeah, or anime list. Actually, before we go, did you guys hear about what Funimation did? It's kind of funny. So like Funimation had this post on Twitter as I go ahead and pull it up because I think it's funny. They had done a poll. And the tweet says, just the right combination of motion, action, and style. Your fan voted favorite animation of the decade is Demon Slayer. And I fucking thought about that, and I'm like, fucking, like, and there's someone who just responded that's like, just says, guys, you know that anime existed before 2019. And I think that's kind of funny because I think without Demon Slayer, people would have just picked fucking My Hero Academia. But like when I think of like what the anime of the decade is, it's a pretty obvious choice to me. It's not something that I think would be like is my favorite, but it's Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan hit the States like a fucking backhand of a like of just like of a teacher or something like that. It was unexpected, and it came from a place that you kind of didn't expect it to, but like it also like had a huge impact. Maybe that analogy fell apart like really hardcore near the end, but still. Like Attack on Titan, like it's still like it might have lost its momentum from like 2013, but like that fucking show was everywhere. People compared fucking Attack on Titan to The Walking Dead. Like it was getting real play here in the States. And in fact, it was one of the first manga in a long time to beat Oda, the guy who does One Piece, in terms of manga sales. Like that's how fucking ridiculous Attack on Titan was. To say that something like Demon Slayer is one of the best fucking, like, the best of the anime of the last 10 years, an anime that came out in 2019 whose impact has yet to be seen, feels a little weird. That's just my little take on that. Like that, I don't know. There's something about that just doesn't feel like right to me. But anyways, guys, thank you all so fucking much for being patient with me. Throughout my 2-hour ramble rant episode of my podcast. I swear other people will be on this show, hopefully. I just wanted to thank you guys, because I know this, unfortunately, admittedly, this episode was supposed to be a little bigger than it is. And I know what you're thinking. Fuck, Mitchell, it was a 2-hour episode. How much bigger can you get? This episode was supposed to be my big episode at the end of the year, and I wanted to end it on a little bit of a different note, and I still want to do that because I want to thank all of you. Jesus Christ. As you guys know, this was the year that we changed everything. This was the year that we decided to stop being Velvet Room Gaming and start being Save Point City. And it might have backfired like hardcore. It might have like actively like destroyed our momentum when we changed our name. And it's been a really hard struggle. I'm not gonna lie. Normally I would kind of sugarcoat that kind of stuff. Maybe like I try to be honest with you guys, but there are some times I will try to sugarcoat some stuff. This has been a really hard year. This was my first year away from my family. Like being really, really far away from my family, and that's why last week I didn't do like anything because I wanted to spend time with them. And it was rough. It was a fucking rough year. And just in general, there's a lot of just stuff that happened behind the scenes, a lot of dumb drama, that like just like, and it had nothing to do with like the show. It just had to do with like life, As you guys know, I don't do advertisements in my show. We don't make cash or anything like that from doing Let's Play. We have our own jobs and stuff, and like, trying to balance that and like relationships and a job and all that stuff. Like it's challenging. But it is all worth it because I love making this show. I love, more than anything in the world, I love making this show. Whether we were Velvet Room Gaming or whether we're Save Point City, I love doing my podcasts. I love coming and doing my shows. I love streaming. I love doing videos. I still like doing this, and in January we're about to hit our 5th year of doing this. We have been doing the Velvet Room project since 2015, and we're about to enter year 5. And a lot of times on this journey, I've kind of told myself that like, hey, you know, if we don't hit these milestones, you know, then that's the end. You know, that's going to be the end of my show, or that's going to be the end of like whatever. But you know, we keep going, and I just wanted to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart to, you know, for keep listening. And, you know, don't tell them that I did this whole bit at the end of my episode that I'm a big sappy bitch, because I'm a big sappy bitch. And I just wanted to thank all of you for your continued support, whether it was through the Patreon, whether it's through the fucking coffee I have set up, whether it's, you know, every comment, every like, every little thing you do that keeps pushing us to keep going, you know. This year, I never thought I would be playing Persona 5 with Gangmudo again, but here we are, you know. And it's to me, I'm looking at the horizon, and I'm trying to think of all the fun new things we can do, the fun new gimmicks we can do at the end of my shows. I'm even thinking about stealing from Harmontown and doing a fucking little D&D bit at the end of every one of my fucking episodes of Mitch's Minute, because I think it could be fun, because I think it could be interesting, because I want to make the best show I possibly can, not just for myself, but also for you. So every artist has their canvas, whether it's, you know, an actual canvas that's blank, or whether it's you know, clay, or whether it's, you know, just a blank tablet screen, or, you know, or their guitar, or, you know, or their musical instrument. You know, every artist has their thing, and for me, it's been videos, and it's always going to be videos. And I know that I will be 35 years old, or 45 years old, or 55 years old, and I'll probably still be doing this podcast or doing something completely different, but I will be doing something in video. And I don't know. I know it sounds weird and sappy to do it, but like, it's the end of the year. Just let me have this fucking thing, and I just want to, you know, thank you all for, you know, for just being here. So thank you guys so much for another awesome year of videos. Thank you guys so much for just listening into my stupid little podcast every week. And I will catch you guys next time on Mitch's Mega Minute. And who knows, maybe in 2020, I'll have an intro and outro to the show. Who knows?